About this session. So Preeti, can you please start the recording?
Yes,
All
it
right.
started, sir. You can carry on.
Okay. All right. Thanks. So Milind, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks. So before I proceed further, just want to understand. So is any one of you is going to actually do this lab along with me?
So the one who
It is free
has
tier, right?
That's free tier. That's correct. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I have logged in to my personal account. I might do parallel.
Yeah. May I know who is this? Name, please.
Nitesh here. Nitesh Shah.
Mitesh. Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have also logged in into my console, so I can also
Yeah.
do it.
What's your good
Yeah,
name?
Vasudev.
Vasudev. All right. Fine. So I think couple of guys are having their AWS account, and so they're going to do this along with me. So we're just going to test how it works. Secondly, we are also going to share the recording of this session. So in case you are not able to do this online, then you can always refer back to the recording and try that lab yourself. Meanwhile, what I have done, I have shared one thing on the chat window. So if I go to chat window, so if you go to your chat window, you will see a couple of URLs are shared. So one is called tiny URL and another is long URL. So this is the Google Docs document which I have shared publicly. And this document contains the references for the lab. So just go to this URL and just ensure that you are able to view this document on your screen.
Can you share it once again? We joined a little late, so we don't have that previous chat.
Oh, is it? Okay. All right.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. Just click on that link. And if everything works fine, you should come to this screen like labs reference VPC live session approach video based. Even those participants do not have their AWS account right now, they should also just check this link. All right, I could see a couple of more guys here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So one is named as dinosaur, another is named as dragon. All right. So the way we are going to do is that I'm going to explain some concepts, just a quick recap of some of the concepts which we have seen last time. And then I'm going to go to my AWS console and then start doing the lab. All right. So those guys who already have AWS account, please log into your AWS account. And whenever I'm going to say that we need to do something, you should be actually start doing those things in your AWS account. And whatever we are doing right now, which is eligible under free tier. So whenever I think there is going to be charges, then I'm going to tell you explicitly so that you don't get any charges. But mind you that there might be some nominal charges in your AWS account if you cross any of the free tier limits. All right. So let's understand what we're going to do in this particular lab. Now this lab document or the reference document is created to accompany the recording. So this is not complete like a step-by-step guide per se, because you should actually refer the video and whenever required, there's enough information in this document so that you can type some of the commands while you are doing on your own. So if you have any doubts, please, please feel free to interrupt me. All right. So if I look at my screen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Preeti, nothing for you.
Okay, sir. I thought something you were saying to me.
No, that's fine. All right. So last time we saw a concept of VPC that is called Virtual Private Cloud. Now in today's session, we are going to set up a custom VPC. So when I say custom VPC, which is something which is created by you. Now, whenever you work with AWS, AWS also creates something known as a default VPC for you. But in many cases, you want to have a control over the IP ranges and so on, and that is why you use custom VPC. So what we are going to do, we are going to create a custom VPC with this CIDR block. CIDR block is nothing but the IP range. So this particular diagram shows 10.0.0.0/16 is the IP range, and you can create up to 2⁻16 IP addresses, or you'll get 2⁻16 IP addresses in this particular VPC or the virtual network. Then we are going to divide this VPC into something known as multiple subnets. One is called public subnet, another is called private subnet. Now, what is public subnet and private subnet? Now, in the context of AWS, whenever you are putting any server, or let's say EC2 or a VM, in something known as public subnet, which means that particular server will be accessible from the outside world. Let's say you want to do an SSH. Now, in your development environment also, you must be connecting to AWS environment. So if you want to connect to any server which is running in AWS, then that server must be running in the public subnet. That is kind of typical configuration. So you might want to set up web server on this particular server and you want to connect to that server. So when you connect to the server, you want to set up some kind of application. So just to demonstrate, I'm just going to set up something known as Apache HTTPD server on this EC2 instance. But in the real world, you might actually set up some kind of Java application on this particular server. You might set up Tomcat, you might set up JBoss, and you might install your WAR file on this particular server. And typically, in many cases, you might be having a database running over some EC2 box. Now, that database server should not be publicly available. The reason being security, because we don't want to provide any mechanism at the network level so that the database is accessible from the outside world. So what we do, we put a database server in something known as private subnet, and we call that instance as a private instance. So what you do, you typically set up an EC2 in the private subnet, and you set up some kind of database, maybe MySQL or SQL Server, and you set up your databases, tables, and everything. And then application which is running inside the public subnet or the public server or a web server, that will connect to your database server. Now that is kind of a typical configuration in many of the applications. So when we start with AWS, we don't put all the servers in the same subnet. So that is the concept of this public and private subnet. So this is going to be a series of steps. So what we do is that we are going to log into our AWS console and proceed further. So we are going to perform various steps here. So on the left hand side, we are going to create something known as VPC outer block. Then we are going to create subnets. We are going to create 4 subnets, one in each availability zone. Now availability zone is nothing but a different physical facility in a specific region. So for demonstration purpose, we are going to use Mumbai as a region, You could use any other region as well. And we are going to create subnets across multiple AZs. Now, why multiple AZ is important? Now, when you want to really have a highly available application, then you need to really deploy your application across multiple AZs, because these multiple AZs are distinct physical facilities. So what is multiple AZ and how to deploy the application across multiple AZs, that we will see in the subsequent lectures. So we're going to create subnet, then we are going to create something known as internet gateway. Now, if you remember from the last discussion, now internet gateway is nothing but the entry and exit point for the internet traffic. So if you want to connect to this server from the outside world, then the traffic comes from the internet gateway and reaches to this particular instance. Similarly, if this instance wants to go to the internet, let's say it is invoking some third-party public endpoints, then also the traffic gets routed via internet gateway. So that is an essential element. And then we create something known as routing entries. Now, we don't really have to go deep in the networking point of view, but just focus on the essential. That routing table is nothing but you create something known as routing entries, which enables router, which is implicitly created by AWS, to route the traffic between VPC and outside the VPC. Now, for example, if you want to do a, let's say from this instance, you want to make a database connection. So in the code, what you do, you basically specify the database URL, which contains the host name, port, username, and password. And that host name gets resolved to some IP addresses. So typically for database, it will resolve to one IP address. And when the actual connection is made, from the application perspective, you don't have to really worry about routing. But from the networking perspective, the router looks up the routing table and checks where to send this traffic. And looking at the route table, it is going to send the traffic to this particular instance. So we're going to create that as well. And depending on how well we are going to do this lab, we will look at something known as NAT gateway and NAT instance further. So that's the essence of this particular lab. And then we can set up EC2 servers depending on how well we are going to proceed with this. All right, so with this background, so I suggest you log into your AWS console. So Mitesh and Vasudev, just go to your AWS console. Now, is this something which is an old account or is it a new account? Mitesh?
It is old account.
Yeah, the free
Okay.
tier 1 year is over for my
1 year is over. Okay.
Yes.
So alternatively, what I can suggest, you can also create a new account subsequently. But for this juncture, I think it is not going to cost you much unless we are going to launch EC2 and NAT gateway. So VPC is a free service. Now, whenever I'm going to say free service, just take that with the pinch of salt, because there are a lot of elements, when you look at AWS pricing, you need to really look up the documentation. But whatever components which you are going to create today, those will be free unless otherwise stated. All right. So anyone attending this session is new to AWS, or everybody is kind of having good background about the concept of regions and so on? Is anybody new, completely new to AWS? Okay, it looks like everybody is kind of a bit conversant with AWS. All right. So in this particular my AWS account, I'm going to use Mumbai as a region. So here I go to this region and say Asia Pacific Mumbai. All right. So I think Mitesh and Vasudev, one of you need to give me feedback how well you are going to do this lab, so that I can understand. If I need to slow down, then I can slow it down.
So just quickly, Amod, I want to check with others also. Is there anyone who is doing lab in parallel on the same laptop? Priyanka, Shruti.
Yogesh,
On this
Mhm.
laptop.
uh,
Or
so what is alternative? I mean, can we
So,
do this after this
so,
session or how?
yeah, so we have asked people to log in using two devices. Either they can use their personal mobile, tab, or laptop. If it is not available, then Amod is recording this session. So you just follow now how Amod is doing lab, and once the lab is done, then you can watch the recording and do the lab when you have once the recording is available. Okay, but
Yeah.
I will suggest, if possible, see if you can do it in parallel. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Yogesh. Yeah, I think for doing it parallel, you might need to have another device because on that device you can see what I'm doing, and then on your laptop you can actually do it. Okay. So there is a one question here. All right. So recording is good one. That's a good feedback. All right. So I think Mitesh and Vasudev, I think you are going to try this now along with me. So let's keep our fingers crossed. All right. So I'm going to go to VPC. So I can go to VPC section from networking here. And now, because there are so many services in AWS, every now and then there is a new feature and service. Other alternative is just to search here. Now, when I look at VPCs, now in my AWS account, I'm in Mumbai region. And you will see is VPCs are two because I have created some VPCs. You can also see VPCs across all regions. Now we'll see there is a Stockholm, Europe, there is one, Paris, there is one, Ireland, there is one. Now I have never used actually these, especially Seoul region, but still there is one VPC. Now that VPC is called default VPC. Okay. Default VPC is created by AWS platform when you actually open an AWS account. All right. So let's see how to create VPC. So I'm going to follow the instructions provided in the lab. So lab is not the step-by-step guide. I just provided some references here. And whenever you need to type any command, you can actually refer back to this. But I think video should be good enough. Okay. So now VPC can be created in various ways. So you will see launch VPC wizard. Now that is something which is much easier to do. So we are not going to use wizard, but we are going to create VPC from scratch using console. Other ways of creating VPC is using CLI. You can use Terraform, you can use CloudFormation, and there are many other ways. But we're just going to focus using AWS console. Okay. So first step is to create VPC. That's an outer layer. So I'm going to create VPC. VPC is an isolated portion of AWS and so on. And you can give a name tag. Now tagging is an important concept in AWS. So tag allows you to really understand what this resource is used for. Because after a certain time, you will have around 30 nodes, 60 nodes, maybe 10 VPCs, 15 VPCs, and so on. Remember, by default, you can create up to 5 VPCs per region. But in this specific account, I have actually increased this limit. So there are certain limits which can be increased. Okay, so typically when we do the lab, let's follow some naming convention. So I'm going to say this is my VPC, amodkadam.jd.vpc. Okay. So this is my VPC name. And I need to specify my IPv4 CIDR block. Now this must be a valid IP range. Now depending on your size of the VPC, let's say you need only 20 nodes. You don't need such a big VPC. Now if you say /24, then you can create 32 minus 24 equal to 8. That is 2 raised to 8, 256 IP addresses. So typically in an enterprise, VPC creation is not very frequent unless you are actually in the development environment or you are creating many environments. So VPC will be created for you in many of the cases. But if I want to create my custom VPC, I need to provide IP range. So I'm going to say /16. And you can also use IPv6. We are not going to talk about IPv6 here, but IPv6 is also possible. Then the another option is called tenancy. Now tenancy is nothing but we know that AWS runs in data center, and then a lot of physical machines are shared across multiple AWS accounts. So default is something which is a shared tenancy. So what could happen that let's say we are going to spin up one VM. That VM or EC2 instance might be running on the same physical device which is shared by, let's say, XYZ customer. So that could be a General Electric or some other company. So that is called default tenancy. If you don't want default tenancy, you need dedicated hardware, then you can use another tenancy. Okay. But we are going to use default tenancy because dedicated tenancy is going to be very expensive. So we'll just go with the default. And let's say create. So the following VPC was created. So you will see an VPC ID here. All right. And you will see this VPC outer block is created. Now this is not creating many various components. This has just created the outer layer. And if I go back to this document, so this has just created this particular outer layer. So Vasudeva, are you with me?
Yeah, I've created one. Yes.
Okay, all right, great. So this provides you some information, VPC ID, CIDR block, and so on. And then we are going to create subnets. So what I do, I go to the subnet section. And I'm going to create the subnet. Now what is the subnet? So let's spend some time in understanding a subnet concept. A subnet is a logical subdivision of an IP network. It's a process of dividing network into two or more subnetworks is called subnetting. Now, why do we need subnetting? It is done for three primary reasons: organize your network, security, and the third is the performance. So let me give you one example. Let's say you have one single network. Just imagine this is going to be your VPC, and then you have various applications running as part of the same network. This could be sales, this could be HR, accounts, and guest. Now, when they are connected on the same network, which is an Ethernet, then from the networking perspective, it is possible that all these hosts are actually able to see the traffic which is on the network. So there is no kind of network level isolation here. Secondly, the way Ethernet works, then it is going to, let's say sales want to send some data to, let's say HR department. Then it will send the traffic. But at the same time, if the accounts want to send the data to HR, then it will also send the traffic, which is packet collision will happen, and the packets need to be retransmitted. So this results in a kind of a much lesser efficient kind of model. So what typically is done, this is divided into subnets. So what we do, we create various subnets. So we divide into multiple subnets. One is called sales, another is HR, third is accounts, and the fourth one is guest. Now here in this case, if there is a communication happening between sales A and B, then that is isolated to this subnetwork. But in this model, the entire kind of that particular pipe is used, so which is not really good. And then here HR is also in this subnet, guest is in its own subnet. But there might be cases that sales wants to talk to HR, and in that case you need something known as a router. So there comes the router element. So when you actually have routing entries, when you look at routing, there comes the router element. That router actually sends the traffic from sales to HR in case A wants to talk to C, which is an HR kind of a machine or an application. So to control the traffic at the network level, at the subnetwork level, you have to do subnetting, and you can control the traffic at the network level using something known as network ACL. That also we're going to see. So let's create subnet. So I go to subnets and I say create subnet. So I'm going to create a subnet. I'm going to say this is my subnet. I'm going to create 4 subnets, 2 in each AZ. One is going to be public. I'm going to say Amod Kadam JD demo dot public subnet, and I'm going to create this in 1A, which is availability zone 1A. But we are creating the subnet in specific VPC. So you have to create or choose the VPC which you have just created. And the availability zone, I'm going to say AP South 1A, I'm in Mumbai region. And IP is CIDR block, which is IP range. So what I'm saying, I created a outer CIDR block, which is 10.0.0/16. Out of these, I want to utilize some of the IP range for my subnet. So I'm going to specify this is my IP range. So when I say /24, it means I can create 32 minus 24 equal to 8, 2⁸ IP addresses in this specific subnet. Now this is the way you decide what should be the CIDR block, because if you need more machines, more than 256, then this is not going to be sufficient for the specific subnet. So depending on your network size and how you are restructuring or structuring your network, you need to decide the CIDR block for the subnet. So I just created this. I just specified these values. So I'm just going to say create. Okay. So Vasudev, just ensure that you specify these values and follow this naming convention. And I say create. And the following subnet was created. Okay. So the subnet is created, and just to ensure that we understand this very well, so I'm going to just filter this. Now I'm going to refresh the screen, entire screen here, so that VPC is visible. So I'm going to select my VPC, which I just created, amodkadam.jd.demo.vpc. All right. Then I see only the subnets which are created over here. So that's first part. And the way to refer this documentation, and in addition to video, is that I've given the values and so on. So I just created this public subnet 1 in 1AZ, and that is something which I have specified just now. Okay, so you can just refer this document so as to specify the values, or you can refer the video subsequently if you're doing it later. So that is the first subnet is created. So I'm going to create one more subnet. So I'm going to create one more subnet, which is called private subnet. I'm just going to name that as a private subnet. See, we are for doing the same thing for both the subnet. So right now, both subnets looks the same. There is no difference per se, but from naming perspective, we're going to call it as one private, because subsequently we are going to modify something known as route table to make one subnet as public subnet. So I said that's private subnet 1A. Select the VPC which you created just now, specify AP South 1A, and specify value as 10.0.1.0/24. All right, so Vasudev, Mitesh, ensure that you are on the same page. So you should see 2 subnets. Now I'm going to create 2 more. So I'm going to follow the same steps, but this time I'm going to use different AZ. So I create subnet amod.kadam public subnet 1B, because I'm going to create this in 1B. Ensure that 1B is created. and this is going to be 2.0/24. So third subnet is created. So I made some mistake here in the naming convention, but that's fine. I can change the name tag. I'm going to create one more, which is private subnet. Then preference is 1B. All right, so after this step, we will have 4 subnets created in our VPCs. If I go back to my lab reference, so we created these outer layers, public subnet, private subnet, and so on. We have not created any router. A router we never create in AWS VPC because it is implicit. We'll come to that. And we have not launched any instances over here. Okay. Now after creating subnet, now we will create something known as internet gateway. So I go to internet gateways. Vasudev, are you with me?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And I'm going to create internet gateway. So internet gateway is nothing but your virtual router that connects VPC to an internet. So specify some naming convention, following some naming convention. I typically put IGW, which is internet gateway, and create internet gateway. Now this internet gateway is created, but you will see state is detached. Now this internet gateway needs to be attached to VPC which we created. So I'm going to attach it to VPC. I can say actions attached to VPC and select the VPC jdemo.vpc. So you will see only VPCs which are not attached to internet gateway. All right. Fine. So my internet gateway is created. So if I go back to my lab, so this is also done. So this outer layer is done. Now let's look at something known as route table. So we never create router, as I said earlier, because when we create VPC, some IP addresses are reserved. So we'll come to that. Let me go to this presentation. All right. So
Hey, Amod, there is some static noise.
mine.
Yeah.
So should I reconnect or let me see this?
See if you have anything nearby you, mobile or some magnetic thing. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
sure.
think mobile is there once.
Okay.
Is it humming or what is it happening?
No, now it's better.
Okay.
Yeah, it's clear now.
Okay, thanks. Just keep my mobile away. Okay, so when we create VPC, now AWS reserves some IP addresses for each subnet. So first IP address is for every subnet is a network address. The second one is .01 is reserved for the VPC router. One more IP address is reserved for DNS server and so on. So this is router, which basically you have seen in the subnet when you look at this sales and HR kind of network. So the router is something implicitly created. So we don't really create the router, but what we do, we create routing entries or routing table. So let's look at this. Okay, so I am filtering on my VPC and I have these 4 subnets. So let's look at public subnet. Now public subnet gives you a lot of information here. Subnet ID, VPC, then it has got something known as route table. Now when you look at the route table, it says destination is 10.0.0.0/16. So if any IP which is part of this particular range, then please route this traffic locally. When you say locally, it is within the VPC. That is the way you read this particular table. So if you look at the private subnet route table, you have the same route table associated with it. Now this is also called in the AWS parlance, it is called main route table. So if you never created VPC before, if you are using default VPC, then this is something which is already created for you. Now, how do you make one subnet as a public and private? Just by putting the name tag, it is not going to become public and private. Now, remember, now this is something which you need to by heart or remember. Any subnet for which the routing table contains entry towards internet gateway, that becomes the public subnet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a route table. So let's create a route table and I'm going to create routing entries. So I'm going to create something known as, okay. So how to make a subnet as a public subnet? So we are just seeing that both the subnets are having only this first entry. So this one, but this is something which is not there. Now, when you don't have the second entry, that means that subnet is a private. And if you add this entry, that subnet becomes a public subnet. And what is the significance of public subnet? You can connect to a server which is running inside the public subnet from the outside world. So it is accessible over the internet. So let's do this. So each subnet has one route table. So I'm going to create route table because I don't want to modify the existing route table. If I go to route tables here, there is only one route table. So I'm going to create route table. So Vasudev and Mitesh, please go to route tables and click on create route table and give a name. So I'm going to say amod.kadam.jd.demo.public RTB. RTB stands for route table. So this is my naming convention. You can follow any other also. And this route table is created. The route table specifies how packets are forwarded between the subnets. Do you hear any noise? Guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Is it clear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let's create this. So create route table. Let's create it. And the following route table is created. Now we'll see from the AWS point of view, this is marked as main is equal to no, because that is not the main route table. Now, what is the main? Now, whenever you create a subnet, by default, it is going to associate a route table which is marked as the main. So in this case, we want this to be public. So I'm going to create one more entry. So I select routes tab and I edit routes. And I'm going to say add route 0.0/0. This means any traffic which is not matching the destination which is there in the earlier row, or this is the default route. If there is no match, then please send the traffic to internet gateway. And this is the internet gateway which will appear here. You say save routes. Route successfully edited. So this is point number 1. But this route table needs to be associated with those subnets which you want to make public. So what I do, I go to subnet associations and I say edit subnet associations. And then I'm going to see all the subnets which are part of the VPC and I'm going to search on public. And I'm going to select both the subnets and click on save. So if you look at this routing tables and subnet association, we have marked these two subnets as public subnet because it contains routing towards internet gateway. And if you scroll down further, the following subnets have not been explicitly associated with any route table and are therefore associated with the main route table. So that is something which you need to remember and by heart. Now, if anybody is appearing for any of the AWS exams, then there are a lot of questions around public subnet and private subnet. So this is something which is very important. So that's it. So as far as the internet gateway is considered, that is attached. So our VPC is kind of done, and public route table is created, and main route table is already there. So we have not created main route table. All right. So that is the way you create these some of the elements of VPC. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to spin up an EC2 instance inside this custom VPC. So what I need to do, I need to go to my VPC and I can spin up a new EC2 instance. Vasudev, are you with me? Vasudev, Mitesh?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Now VPC is very important, and those who are going to do this when we actually do the actual session, live session, this is just a kind of pilot or test session. Everybody has to really create this VPC, and everybody has to get this VPC right, because subsequently we are going to use our custom VPC for various other labs. So this is very important for everyone to ensure that they are on the same page. All right. Now I say I want to spin up a new EC2 instance. So I'm going to go to compute EC2 and I have to spin up this instance in my custom VPC. So currently I don't have any running instances. So I'm going to launch instance. We will discuss EC2 in for the EC2 section, EC2 lectures, but right now we are just focusing on VPC. So I will not explain much about EC2 here. So I'm going to say launch instance. Those who are using free tier or old account, they should use an AMI which is eligible for free tier. So we are going to use Linux one. So you can search on Amazon Linux 2. And you will see that Amazon Linux 2 has many kind of variations. So we are going to use Amazon Linux 2 VMI, AMI, which is, in my case, it is this one, Amazon Linux 2 AMI SSD volume type. Ensure that you select this one, and I select this. And I'm going to use general purpose T2 micro, which is free tier eligible instance, which has got 1 CPU and memory as 1 GB, which is good enough for labs. Next, number of instances 1. And here you will see now network option. Now here I could see 3 VPCs. One is default and another created by me. So I just created this JD demo.vpc today, and this was created by me yesterday. So I'm going to use the one which is created just now. And you will see subnet. I'm going to use public subnet 1B, 1A, sorry, public subnet 1A. And you will notice that it is saying 251 IP addresses are available. Now this subnet is created with /24 CIDR block. So it means it should have 2⁸, which is 256 IP addresses. But as seen earlier, 5 IP addresses are reserved. So you only get 251 IP addresses. The another point you should note is auto-assign public IP. Now, whenever we are going to spin up a new EC2 instance in public subnet, because we want to set up maybe web server or Apache server on that server, so that should have a public IP. Now, in your case or in my case also, auto-assign public IP, that can be set at the subnet level as well as you can override by coming over here. So I'm going to enable this because I can, in my subnet setting, it is currently disabled. So if you want to override, you can enable it from here. Subsequently, I will show you how to enable it at the subnet level also, but you can just say enable here so that it will get a public IP. Then we'll not discuss other points right now for the EC2. Keep everything else default. Next, I'm going to add 8 GB of storage, which is good enough. Add tags. I'm going to say add tag, give a name. So this is my instance. Demo public instance. So this is my naming convention, but you can ideally in the real world, you can say what is the purpose of this server. This purpose could be web server. Then you can also say what is the project name. You can say tractors, sensor application, something like that. You can go on adding these tags. And then I'm going to configure security group. Now security group is nothing but the virtual firewall. So if I go back to my reference document, so what we are doing, we are basically creating this public instance and setting up the security group around it. So I go back to my console. I'm going to create some security group name. So I say JD demo public.sg. And when I'm creating the security group, I can specify the type, protocol, and the port range. So I'm going to currently just allow traffic from anywhere. It means I can connect to this EC2 instance from anywhere. And I say review and launch. And say launch. Now, if you're launching an EC2 instance in your AWS account, then we need to have something known as key pair. Now, in my case, I'm going to use existing key pair. Now, key pair is nothing but a public key and private key combination. A private key is something which will be provided by AWS that you need to download and keep with yourself. And public key is something which AWS stores. So if you don't have any key pair, you can create a new one. I'm going to create a new one here. KP is my naming convention key pair. And I can download this key pair. So download this key pair. Now ensure that you don't lose this key pair. This is a private key file. If you lose this key, then you will not be able to connect to EC2 instance. Now this is called once in lifetime opportunity, which is provided by AWS. So if you lose your key, then you will not be able to connect to your EC2 instance. And if you go back to AWS saying that I need to log a support call because I lost my key, they will not be able to give you because they don't store it. So which is very important. And then you say launch instances. And your instances are now launching. Now it takes like a couple of minutes for Linux instances. So it is initializing. And you will notice that it has got public IP. Now this is public IP which we can use to connect to this EC2 instance. Now depending on the environment, depending on the Windows or Linux or Mac, the instruction to connect will change. But I think most of you might be familiar with how to connect to an EC2 instance from Windows. So typically people use PuTTY, MobiXterm or various any other SSH client. So I'm going to connect to this instance. All right. So I'm on the Mac machine. So I'm going to switch to my terminal window so as to connect to this EC2 instance. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy paste my .pem file, which is a private key, so that I can connect to it. So I go to my download section. This is my downloads. The file is over here. So this is something which I created just now. So I'm copying this to my another folder here. All right. So I'm on Linux kind of environment. So I need to change the properties of this .pem file because this is publicly open right now. So I'm going to change its chmod 400. All right, and I'm going to do SSH using this key, SSH -I. So I'm going to use this particular key, and I need to log into my EC2 server. Now we have used Amazon Linux 2 AMI, which has got default user, which is called EC2-user, and I need to use the public IP. So I'm going to use my public IP of the server. All right, and you will see the authenticity of host is something which can't be established because this key is not on my machine. This is the first time I'm connecting. Say I'm sure I want to connect to this machine, and that's it. So I'm connected to my server, which is running in the public subnet. Now on this server, what I can do, I can basically set up some Apache web server, something like that. So if I go to my documentation, so I provided some instructions. So I will launch public instance, connect to EC2. I'm going to just use this setup httpd, sudo yum install httpd, very simple command. And I'm going to start this service. Service has started. Then I'm going to ensure that httpd starts at boot up. All right. And I'm going to verify whether something is working or not. Is my httpd running or not? Using curl localhost, I should get some output. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to modify index file. So I'm going to go to cd var www.html folder. I'm going to say sudo vim index.html because this is the file which will be served when we go to this particular httpd server. Index.html. There's a typo here. All right, so I'm going to use, you can enter any text running from EC2 in the EC2 workshop. To save it this file, and I say curl localhost. Sorry, curl localhost. So running from EC2 in the workshop. So what we have just now done is that we have set up Apache web server HTTPD and we have modified the index.html. Now this is something if you want to access it from the public endpoint. What is public endpoint? Now IP address which we have received of EC2, which is a public IP. Now if I want to go to that particular IP address from the browser, I should be able to see that index.html because my HTTPD server is running on port 80 and I expect I should see this page. But when I go to this particular IP address, it is saying connecting. See. Now what is the reason? And there comes the important concept of something known as security group. So this security group which we have created does not allow traffic on all ports. So let's look at the security group here. So I go to my instance here and I check my security group. This is the security group. And if I look at my inbound rules, now the security group has a concept of inbound rules. Now inbound rule is nothing but it basically controls the traffic which comes to an EC2 instance. Now when I go to this browser, it is basically I'm accessing on port 80, which is not there. So I'm going to edit inbound rules. Say add rule. I say HTTP. Port is 80. custom. For the time being, I'm just going to say anywhere, but it is also possible to restrict to specific IP address. And I say save rules. It means this instance is accepting traffic on port 80, and if I go to this particular link, and you will see now it has displayed running from EC2 in the workshop. So this is the way you create a VPC, just an outer layer of VPC, and then you set up an EC2 instance in the public subnet. Now, similarly, in the subsequent sessions, we can actually also launch one more instance called private instance. And when you launch an EC2 instance in the private subnet, then you will not have any connectivity from the outside world to connect to it. Because from the networking point of view, you cannot reach to that instance. So that is something which I just wanted to cover for today's session. So typically we set up this another server, and then we go on further setting up something known as Docker container on this, and then we install some simple application on this web server, and then we proceed further with further labs. So again, so VPC has some more elements into it, like we have not looked at network ACL. I will just quickly show you, but that is also something which you can control. So I go to my VPC section. Go to subnets, and I'm going to select public subnet 1A. You have seen route tables, but let's look at network ACL. Now, network ACL is something controlling the traffic at the network level. Just imagine that you have a set of servers. Now, currently we have only one server, but there may be like 10 servers running. Let's say those are load balanced. Then if I say they block all the traffic which is coming on the port 80 to all the servers. So in that case, what you can do, you can go and modify your security groups. But that is a bit time consuming. Doing that for the 10 EC2 instances might be time consuming, but I want to block that at the network level. So what I can do, I can come here and modify this network ACLs. So let me demonstrate this. So I'm just going to connect to this. And network ACL is inbound rules. Now, similarly, firewall, it has got rule 100, allow traffic all, and allow. I'm going to add one more rule, and I'm going to add rule, and it has got a concept of numbers. So I'm going to specify 90 as a number. So that will be evaluated first. I'm going to say HTTP 80, and I say now deny. So what I'm saying, please deny this traffic at the network level. Remember, the security group is allowing, but the network level, I'm denying this traffic. So let's see what happens, whether it works or not. So I need to check why it is not working, but ideally it should not work. Let me see which subnet I have modified. Let me try again. I think I modified traffic for some different subnet. So let's see, because there are a couple of subnets with the same name. Okay, so I think it looks to be issue here. So I'm going to modify this network ACL. So inbound rules, I say edit inbound rules. I modified for some other subnet, I believe. I'm going to say HTTP deny save. And you will see now it is not showing you any content. Now this is something which is happening because at the network level, those are blocked, those are denied. So this is a security feature of the network ACL. So if you go back to our reference, now here network ACLs are not shown, but network ACLs are actually connected to subnet. So that is something which you need to understand. So you can use security group as well as network ACL. The security groups are at the EC2 level and the network ACLs are at the network level. So I'm just going to restore this because debugging this is a bit time consuming at times. So I'm just going to restore the default one. All right. So I think we will stop here today. But there are a few more elements which we want to cover as part of PPC lab. So we will be spinning up new instance in private instance, and then how do you connect to this private instance? There is a concept of jump box. So you basically connect to this instance first and then jump it to this box and so on. And in case this instance wants to go to the internet for patching or want to establish any connectivity to the outside world, then that instance need to have public internet access, and that internet access is typically provided using NAT concept or NAT gateway or NAT instance. So that is something which we will do in the subsequent sessions. So I think that's all for the today's session. Also need to be conscious of time. So if you have any questions on whatever topics which I have covered so far, please feel free to ask me those questions. And now whatever we created so far, except EC2, nothing is chargeable. If you are within free tier, you will not get any charges. So the best practice, what I suggest, once the lab is over, you don't terminate all the resources till our sessions are on, but you stop the server. So if I go to my EC2 box, now my account is also, now this account is something which is a new account. So I'm eligible for free tier. But ideally you should have a practice of stopping the server. So I'm going to take this server and stop this. So at least the compute cost will not be there. All right. So Mitesh, Vasudev, how far you reached? Especially you may not have, depending on what you have for the SSH client, you may have tried that out.
Yes, we created the EC.
SSH client, so I was able to edit the HTML also.
Okay, you created EC2 instance. Okay.
Yeah.
So did you manage to install HTTPD there?
Yes.
And did you manage to experiment security group?
Yeah, initially the page was not loading, but after changing the security group, it was. Yeah.
All right, good. That's good. So I'm going to stop my recording. So I think at least I will stop it from my end. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask.
Hi guys, in case of any queries, you can ask now.
Yeah.
Priyanka,
Alright,
Shruti, or if there is no questions, I think it's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So who
So,
all able
yeah.
to follow Amod? So I know Mitesh and Vasu. Is there any other person also tried in parallel?
I tried it at my end, but because I had to switch on, so after I was on the path of creating EC2 and then the security groups, but in the time lag, I got it behind, and then it somehow did not work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suggest I think you try it further steps after recording.
Yep.
Yeah.
Recording is shared, I think, and use the companion document, which is the Google Docs. So
Yes,
that should help.
Sure.
Now, in case if you are not able to do it, then I think we need to also allocate some time so as to debug some of the issues, because certain elements like VPC, when we actually do the live actual session, everybody has to be on the same page, because otherwise further labs will not happen correctly. There is some dependency in subsequent labs.
Yeah.
So we can allocate some time, maybe half an hour, depending on whoever is having problem. We can maybe log in earlier little bit, so that others time is not kind of not lost. That we can work out.
Yeah. So Preeti, could you please stop the recording?
So I will stop my screen sharing as well.